Harry Houdini, the Great and Powerful, Chapter 4, by CrackedInkwell. A free ticket and a card trick.
I don't get it, Trixie muttered. I simply don't get it.
Huh? The reporter asked as he and the Blue Unicorn rode a taxi back to her theater.
I'm talking about what that giant did, she clarified. How could that thing have gotten out?
It's certainly a puzzle, I admit, he agreed, nodding. Even I'm still trying to figure out how he did it. Maybe he picked a stashed away somewhere.
But that officer searched him, remember?
Trixie pointed out. Well, what if he had a unicorn accomplice?
There was not an inch of magic found in the cuffs or in the cell.
The reporter paused for a moment to think. What if... No. How about... No, that doesn't make sense. I give up. Trixie took this opportunity to pull the pointy hat off her head, looking at the ticket that the Great Houdini had offered her and the other magicians. It was for a show of his on Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. She pondered what he was trying to accomplish, he and the other creatures that appeared out of nowhere, shocked and confused. Now he was trying to advertise for a show in a similar fashion to the way she used to do with hers, years ago when she was still living in her little wagon. What are you going to do? Are you going to a show? The reporter inquired. Trixie stared at the ticket in her hoof for a moment longer, before turning to the stallion.
Only to take some notes.
As soon as Trixie came back to her theater, she went in and told her assistants and the stage director that the show on Wednesday was canceled. Pepper's ghost questioned why she would make such a decision.
I think we've gotten ourselves some new competition.
Houdini escapes prison. Elite magicians investigators baffled. Manehattan, Ehrich. Yesterday, the human Harry Houdini pulled out the impossible when he walked into Manhattan's Pine Ridge Penitentiary, asking not to only be locked up in one of its cells, but also insisted he be bound in hoofcuffs, made a bet with Officer Locke that he could escape within the hour, betting to his mother's pocket watch. This reporter, along with several others from various other newspapers in the city's finest illusions, once Houdini locked up 3 pairs of hoofcuffs, even going so far as to allowing the gathered crowd to test the cuffs for authenticity and magical resistance. We also saw the human being locked behind a heavy steel door in a concrete cell that had been made to hold the city's most dangerous criminals. After an hour had passed, we returned to Chickenham, only to find the cell was empty, with the cuffs and door still locked tight. Shortly thereafter, Houdini was found at the officer's desk, reclaiming his mother's pocket watch. I am completely stumped, Officer Locke said after he sent me some investigators to examine the cell. We all saw the cuffs being put on. I checked every spot that could have hidden something. Even he had the key to the cell in my pocket the entire time. Not only that, but the detectives couldn't find a trace of anything that could have helped him escape. It's like the thing just walked in right through the door or something. I have been doing escapes for years, but I've never seen one like this, said Card Trick, one of the magicians that was present at the prison. Other than that, using the real cuffs, the weirdest part said somehow he got out without the aid of unicorn magic. I, along with many others, checked every inch of the cell for magical residue, but we found it was completely clean. How any pony could have gotten down there without using magic is something I would really like to know. As for Mr. Houdini himself, he plans to do public escapes in the day and nightly performances on Fifth Street, while his and his troupe find a way to eventually return back home. He even presented free tickets to each of the magicians who were present at the penitentiary for his show this Wednesday. Prices for the Harry Houdini Master of Mystery at the House of Wonder Theater are now set for 7 bits for adults and 5 for foals. The lower part of Fifth Street isn't known for being a place that any pony would go for an entertainment. This is why the residents of said street received front row seats to an unusual view. A crowded line that reached all the way down the block, even before the scheduled 8 o'clock performance. Bright lights in the new theater lit up the street like a star that fell from the sky. All ponies from the skeptically old to the curiously young lined up with bits in their hooves for what was possibly the most unusual show in all of Equestria, with none of them having any idea what to expect. Among this crowd were some of the curious musicians from a few days earlier, such as Trixie and her 2 assistants. Once the Blue Unicorn was inside, her assistants paid for their tickets. They wandered into the theater looking for a seat. They all quickly found that velvet seats were unusually large, potentially fitting 2 ponies with 3 foals each. Trixie and her assistants had to find a seat close to the stage as possible, so they would get an up-close look at the new illusionist's work. When the time came and the lights dimmed, a spotlight fell upon the crimson curtain, and a human stepped out from the stage's side. He was richly dressed, and his blond mane was pulled back. Ladies and gentlemen, or should I say, mayors and gentlecoats, daughters and dreamers alike. Tonight, you are about to witness one of the greatest wonders you have ever seen. For all you are about to see, a man that has traveled the world over, mystifying audiences from the royalties of old Europe to the streets of San Francisco. And now he has come here, in the land of magic itself, by unusual circumstances that bring his professional craft to you. So here, at the House of Wonder, I give you the King of Handcuffs himself, the Emperor of Escape, the Mastery of Mystery, the Great Harry Houdini. The audience applauded as the human walked up the stage and the curtain rose, revealing the liking magician himself at center stage, with Starry Night painted in the background. Kind of smiling, he walked up to the audience, raised his hands to the air, feeling a raven and dove in each hand before they flew away. Welcome, everyone, to what is surely the most mysterious night of your lives, he announced. Allow me to introduce myself. For those who don't know, I am the great Harry Houdini, and I shall be the one entertaining you all this fine evening. The audience applauded kindly before he continued. Perhaps, before we begin, I shall begin a brief introduction to what I am. For you see, I am more than just a magician, or that fella that just got out of jail. This made his equine spectators laugh. In truth, I am many things in my profession. I have been a circus magician, an escape artist, an airplane pilot, an actor, a historian in magic, and much more. Where I come from, Houdini took a pack of cards from his coat pocket. I am known for doing things that my people would claim to be impossible, which I will be demonstrating in the coming days, as well as tonight. He waved to the side of the stage, where a chair and table were brought out to the stage. On the top of the table were a pen, a metal bowl, a cup with a clear substance in it, a box of matches, a cutting board, and a knife. For this, I am going to need a volunteer. Immediately after saying that, he was quickly joined by a unicorn that teleported from her seat. The Great and Powerful Trixie would be more than willing to assist you, she said with a smug smile, receiving some applause from the audience. I see that you're pretty popular around here, Houdini pointed out.
That is because I am. I was one of the magicians that you invited to witness your escape a couple of days ago.
He smiled. Well, it's a good thing you made it to my show. If you could just hop on the chair, we'll begin.
Trixie did so, getting a better view of the table. Houdini opened the box and started to shuffle the cards.
So, tell me, Trix, being a magician yourself, are you aware of the basics of how card tricks are supposed to work?
Of course, she nodded. You give somebody a random card, and they try to give them their card back after losing it in some way.
Very good. He shuffled the deck again. But as we know, there is a big problem with the card tricks. They get pretty ridiculous, pretty fast. You have to keep coming up with a new variation of it. Otherwise, people will stop taking it seriously, right?
Trixie agreed.
So now, I shall perform for you one of my many takes on the card trick.
Houdini then laid the blue back cards on the table and spread them out. Once he did, he turned his back and took several big steps away from the cards, keeping his back turned.
For this, I want you to choose 2 cards from the deck. One for all to see, the other for all your eyes only. I would also like to use the pen to sign your name on both of them.
Trixie raised an eyebrow, but did as he was told, grabbing the pen in her magic. She picked out the 7 of hearts and 4 of spades. Signing both of them, she placed the hearts of cards face up and the 2 spades face down. Trixie is ready for your trick, Mr. Houdini, she told him as the illusionist returned to the table, picking up the visible card to show the spectators.
The 7 of hearts, he declared as he put both of the cards back into the deck.
shuffling it one more time before putting the deck back into the little white box. Now, both of the cards are lost, but not only are they lost, he put the box into the metal bowl before pouring the clear liquid onto it. Houdini swiftly lit the match and dropped it into the bowl, setting its contents aflame. It's now on fire, but not just on fire. He quickly dumped the blackening deck onto the chopping board, grabbing the knife and swiftly chopping it into nothing but ash. It's now diced into pieces. In other words, whatever was in that box is now destroyed. Or is it? Excuse me, miss. He pointed towards the balcony. You there, with those lovely green legs and the sunflower mane, wearing the Boston hat. Yes. The mayor requested stood up. Would you empty your purse, if you please? My purse? She blinked. She bent down and took the purse out of her hose. I don't understand. Can you please open it and produce the 7 of hearts? Still as confused as ever, she unclasped the little back before her eyes widened. But how? Madame, may we please sit? Mary reached into her purse and pulled out a blue-black card, flipping over to reveal the 7 of hearts with Trixie's signature on it. This got the audience to applaud at the miracle they had just witnessed. Trixie, on the other hand, stood there with her jaw reaching the floor. She couldn't help but blink. Thank you, Great and Powerful Trixie, Houdini said. You may return to your seat. Unicorn teleported back to her shared chair, but noticed her seat felt a little funny. She stood up and levitated what she sat on before gasping. It was the autograph 4 of spades. Oh, before I forget, Houdini called out from the stage. Is that your card? Chapter 5. Metamorphosis and Intermission. The twin assistants turned to their boss as Houdini began setting up his next trick. Are you alright? Mr. Drakes whispered, carefully adjusting the confused scowl on Trixie's face. She looked down at the card in her hoof as she inspected the sun burst into flame. Did either of you see any pony putting this card on my seat? Trixie questioned both of them. They shook their heads. No, madame, answered Pepper's ghost. We didn't even notice it until you sat on it. Trixie remained silent in thought. Somehow, without detecting a single spell going off, 2 of her cards were sent into the audience. Perhaps someone put them there. Yes, that had to be it. He somehow misled the audience when he was burning and chopping the deck. He had plenty of time to shift the cards into an accomplice to sneak them into the mayor's purse in her seat. But there were simple major problems that were nearly giving her a headache. She saw the cards being shuffled back into the deck. At no time did he come close to the edge of the stage or side curtains. So how did those 2 cards with her autograph get to where they were? A heavy chest was being brought on stage, along with a violet curtain hung upon a rod. This next trick, I will need the assistance of my beautiful wife, Bess. If you would come out here, please. He was joined on stage by another human, nearly as tall as her husband, wearing a familiar red circus costume that was similar to what Trixie's own assistants wore during their show. Her makeup was a tad pale, with a wide scarlet lipstick smile, and her short, wavy brown mane curled like the waves of the sea. Evening, honey. Houdini grinned as he gave his wife a quick kiss on the lips. Hey, Harry, she replied. Sure. Do you want to introduce yourself, or shall I? I'll do it. Best turned to the audience. Hello, everyone. I am Miss Houdini, Harry's most faithful assistant. I've been helping him out on stage for nearly as long as we've been married. In fact, this coming Friday will be our 30th anniversary. Equine spectators applauded to the news. Sit on. Harry pointed to the truck. You remember this? How I forget? That's the first magic trick you taught me when we were still with the traveling circus. I know. So what do you say, dear? Do you want to do the metamorphosis act like in the old days? Well. She turned to the audience as they made a collective mumbling sound, all of them curious as to what this trick was. Okay, but just this once. How about I go into the box first? Harry asked, his wife agreeing. Soon, the assistants from the side curtains came with handcuffs, shackles, and ropes. The trunk was opened before the assistants began locking Houdini up, placing cuffs around his wrists and ankles, padlocking his shackled feet, tying him up in rope. Another assistant soon came on stage with a burlap sack and rope. The assistants tied it up one last time before placing the bag back in the trunk and closing the lid. Bess took out a heavy-looking padlock, securing the trunk's lid. She then walked to the stage to the edge with a key in her hand. "Excuse me." She sat down in front of a filly. "What's your name?" The filly hopped out of her seat, walking up to the giant before her. "What's an adorable name?" Bess smiled before handing the key over to the filly. "Now, Lily, could you do a very important job for me? I want you to hold on to that key, because it's the only one that can let my husband out of that trunk, and I don't want to lose it. Can you do that for me?" The little earth pony nodded as she took the key into her mouth while hopping back into her seat. Bess walked over to the trunk, taking a rod that held a curtain before jumping onto the very chest her spouse was trapped in. "Now, on the count of 3, all of you are going to get a very special surprise. Ready?" She threw the rod over her head before catching it. 1. She threw it over her head. 2. But when the curtain came back down, it was Harry who caught it. 3. The audience gasped in surprise before erupting into applause. Harry jumped off the box, letting the rod hit the floor. "But that is my wife. Oh, where could she run off to?" He strode over to the edge of the stage where the filly sat. "Excuse me, little girl, but may I have that key, please?" Trixie saw the filly give him the key before he rushed back to the trunk, unlocking the padlock and opening the lid to show the audience the tied-up burlap sack. The human untied the rope, letting the bag drop to show the crowd his wife, bound in the very same handcuffs, shackles, and ropes. After the applause died back down, Houdini called out to his audience, "I don't want to see that again." "Yes!" the theater cried. "All right." He gave his wife a quick kiss before putting her in the bag, tying it up, closing, locking the lid, returning the key back to the filly in the front row. When all this was done, Houdini picked up the curtain rod and held it to his shoulders. "All right, everyone, on 3. He threw it over his head, only to be interrupted by his wife catching it. 3! She got down onto the trunk and walked to the filly, asking for the key back. Bess headed back to the stage to the heavy lid and opened it, untagged the bag to reveal her husband in the same position she was not a minute ago. The audience's applause was as loud as before, if not louder. "Thank you," Harry said, and his wife took a quick bow. "Now, ladies and gentlemen, we shall be taking a very short intermission before moving on with the second act. We'll resume the show in 10 minutes. The crimson curtain fell as the equine audience's tears of approval began to die down. Tracy got up from her seat, looking cross. "Miss," Peppers inquired, "where are you going?" "If either you or any pony else needs Trixie, she'll be outside getting some fresh air." Before her assistants could say anything further, she swiftly teleported outside into the warm June air. She found a nearby alleyway where she could have some privacy, as well as a wall to vent her frustrations. "How," she banged her head against the brick, "is he doing that?" It's magic tricks. Chapter 6. The Chinese Water Torture Cell. About 9 minutes later, Trixie returned to the theater feeling a little dizzy. She returned to her seat, her 2 assistants noticing red bruises near her forehead. "Before either of you say anything, I'm fine." "Where have you been?" Mr. Exon questioned. "Trixie told you. She went outside for some fresh air." Her attention was now aimed at the red curtain, the large clock on the left side of the stage, along with some numbered cards. There was a murmur from the crowd as the sound of war being poured into something large. The lights soon dimmed, and a spotlight appeared on the right side of the stage where Houdini walked out from. Instead of wearing a suit, he was now wearing a crimson silk robe as he strode across the stage. The audience kindly applauded as he walked towards the large clock. How long can a man or pony hold his breath? He asked as he stopped before the timepiece. For this next trick, I have with me the largest stopwatch in the world. You might be wondering why I brought this out, or why I am asking how long can one hold their breath. I will show you in just a moment, but for now, let's do an experiment, shall we? On the count of 3, I want you to all take a deep breath and hold it for as long as you can. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Whoa! I've never actually gone a whole minute holding my breath before. That was pretty impressive. There was a collective inhale from the equine audience as young and old puffed out their cheeks. Houdini swiftly pressed a button on the clock and started ticking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. After 10, the theater became dead quiet except for the slow ticking of the clock. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. An exhale was heard. 20, 21. A dozen let out a breath. You'll start to notice, Houdini spoke. The time seems to slow down the longer you try to hold on to that precious bit of air. Your chest seems to want to collapse into itself. More exhales. But imagine for a moment you are holding on to that air for dear life. You tread on the water, upside down and locked up. Finally, no pony could hold on to their breath any longer as Houdini pressed a button, stopping the clock's timer at 60 seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, I am about to perform something similar to what I've just described. Was the second act. I will attempt to escape from the tiniest water torture cell. The curtain raised up, revealing a tall glass box in its air, transparent on all sides. Beside it seemed to be a system of chains with heavy-looking stalks that had been painted red. Perhaps, Houdini spoke as he walked towards the glass box. Torture may not be the correct word to describe this. No, this thing is more of an execution device, where the victim's legs are locked in stocks you see here. They are dunked then headfirst into the water, where they are forced to hang upside down without being able to move. 4 assistants joined him on stage. As you can see, my assistants carry 4 different locks, which shall be put on as soon as I am fully submerged into this death device. Now, as I prepare for my lungs, will a member from the audience inspect the Chinese water torture cell before I attempt my escape? I'll do it. A voice spoke, followed by a flutter of wings. The Pegasus stallion flew over the stage, balancing himself on the edge of the glass box. He stuck a hoof inside and pulled it back out, revealing it was indeed dripping with water. He flew each side of the box, tapping on the edges and the glass itself to confirm it was indeed a solid box. Finally, he checked the stocks, opening the wooden device while showing it to the audience. It's real, he said. I can't figure out how any pony would get out of a death trap like this. Houdini thanked him, and asked him to return to his seat. If you'll excuse me, I shall disrobe. He undid his silk robe to reveal a piece of black clothing that seemed to resemble a one-piece swimsuit. He sat down before the stocks, placing his feet in the holes before his assistants placed a metal rod that locked him in place. One last thing, he said. I strongly advise that no one in the audience should ever attempt to do something like what you're about to see, unless you know exactly what you're doing. The theater's manager is off stage with an ox, ready to break the glass case in case something goes wrong, because there's always that chance. Jane slowly raised the human upside down and in position right over the glass box of water. Another assistant stood by with a large stopwatch, and, at Houdini's signal, lowered him headfirst into the water before starting the clock. Water quickly flowed over the death trap, as every pony in the audience saw him sinking deeper and deeper into the box until the socks on his feet finally hit the rim on his glass. The four assistants that helped guide Houdini in quickly on all four sides, and the clock flipped the number. 1 minute, she says as the other assistants walked away from the box, while the two others came onto the stage with large dividers, blocking the spectators' views. Trixie leaned over to Peppers. Just watch. He's going to pop out of there any moment now. They waited, and the clock ticked on. The assistant flipped over the card. 2 minutes. The blue magician blinked. Mr. X leaned over. Is something supposed to happen by now? They looked around at the audience, whose faces were a mix of confusion and worry. Whispers and murmurs grew louder as the clock ticked on. By the 2:30 mark, a voice was heard. Is this part of the show? The assistants quickly shared their worry as the equine audience tried to figure out what was going on. 3 minutes. She called out over the ponies' ever-increasing anxiety. Come on, let him out! Is he alright? What's going? Let us see! But the clock ticked on, and the fighter stayed unmoved. When the timepiece reached the 3:30 mark, more assistants joined the stage, trying to calm the audience's nerves. Trixie turned to her assistants, who wore the same frightened look as everyone else. Something's wrong! One of the assistants on stage said. Get the axe! Get the axe! Hurry! The assistants rushed over and grabbed the sides of the fire, as an older-looking human rushed to the center of the stage with an axe in hand. The assistants tore the fabric to fire aside, and the manager raised his axe, ready to strike, until they all saw that the cell was empty. Whoever invented that device is a lunatic! Everybody's heads turned to the back of the theater to find a soaking wet Houdini walking down the aisles of the theater, leaving the audience to sigh with relief. Okay, guys, for point contention, if I was with that audience, I would be holding my hoof out to high-five that sucker! As for Trixie, her brain came to a screeching halt as she came to process what just happened. She turned her attention to the water torture cell, half hoping that maybe the locks in the device were taken off by mistake, and that someone had sneaked in behind the fire to unlock them. Yet, it was clear to every pony in the theater that all four of the locks were still secured on that lid. And now, I want you to do a little something for me. The moment that I say 3, I want you all to hold your breath. And, in the comments below, tell me how long you can hold it. Let's see if you could actually beat 1 to 2 minutes. Or better yet, besides that, write down in the comments how you think Harry Houdini, master of magic, was able to pull out the tricks that you just read. I am quite curious about some of your theories, because I am a fan of magic and I'm figuring them out, just as you guys are. But let's start off with this important trick, as this reader disappears for tonight. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3.